Hey everyone, welcome back to Discovering NL with Kevin. I'm Kevin. Hey, welcome back. So if you watched my last few videos, you know that I've been trying to learn about cricket. And guess what? I've been watching cricket. I have been. I've been watching with those of you who are joining me in the Discord. So check out the Discord if you're not there already. Link is down in the description for the Discord. And join us there. We've been watching some cricket together, and I've been enjoying it. I watched the matches between Australia and India. And congratulations to the Australian team, the men's team. You guys won. It was awesome to watch. I really enjoyed it. Watched it with some great people who really understood the sport and did a very, very good job in teaching me and helping me understand the sport as I watched it as well. So be sure to check out the Discord. Join us when we're watching some cricket. But not only cricket, we've been watching other things as well. In fact, we were watching baseball the other day, Major League Baseball from the United States. It was pretty cool. And we even watched a bit of hockey. I'm a big hockey nut. It's my absolute favorite sport. Hands down, bar none. Nothing comes close. But, you know, there are seconds and thirds, but nothing comes close to my love for hockey. I do actually cheer for this team right here, is the Detroit Red Wings. I know they're not a Canadian hockey team, but I grew up watching the Detroit Red Wings and loving their team captain, who was a Canadian, Steve Yzerman, one of my absolute favorite hockey players of all time. On top of that, right here from where I live, just in the town next to me, was a Detroit Red Wings hockey player. We've had Danny Cleary from Newfoundland play for the Detroit Red Wings as well. And so I'm like, why wouldn't I cheer for the Detroit Red Wings? Now, Darren Langdon is the guy. He lives in Deer Lake. He's the current coach of a hockey team in the local division called the Deer Lake Red Wings. He played for the Detroit Red Wings and now coaches that team. But I don't cheer for the Deer Lake Red Wings. Actually, in that league, I go for these guys. This is the Corner Brook Royals, my hometown, my favorite hockey team. So I cheer for those guys and really love watching those games live. Now, I've also found out through the Discord that Australia has a hockey league, the Australian Ice Hockey League, AIHL. Now, I've never watched anything about that. I don't know anything about the league. I assume it follows a lot of the same rules as ice hockey that you would find in other divisions like the ECHL, the NHL, the OHL, the AHL, QMJHL. Like I would assume all of those leagues, they all have the same kind of rules and so on and so forth. So I'm going to learn about that today. Before I do, folks, it's been a very interesting start to 2025. This happened today. Yeah, here in Canada, our Prime Minister announced his resignation. It's going to be an interesting year, 2025. If Donald Trump has his way, we're going to be the 51st state, which I really hope does not happen. That's no offense to the U.S., no offense to Donald Trump. I love my country, Canada, just like it is. Always room for improvements, of course. But, yeah, no, we're going to stay Canada. Don't worry. We're not joining the U.S. as a 51st state ever. But, hey, you know what? It's starting off very interesting this year. We'll see what happens. We'll see what the year brings for Canada. In the meantime, I'm going to check out some AIHL, and what I want you all to do, please, if you don't mind, as always, is to please like this video. If you do like the video, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of my future videos. Without further ado, let's head over and learn what the AIHL is truly all about. Here it is. Pro hockey in Australia. What is the AIHL? And how good is it? Well, let's find out.
Hey guys, what's going on? My name's Lasher, and today we're going to have a look at the Australian Ice Hockey League. So the AIHL has been operating in its current form for about 20 years, consisting of between 6 and 9 teams, spread out over most major cities in Australia. So
Okay, so I'm just going to stop for a second. There, 25 years. That's awesome. Good on you guys. 6 to 9 teams, so obviously not as big as the NHL. Not as, but there's more teams there than there are Canadian teams. See, in Canada, we've got the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Montreal Canadiens, we've got the Winnipeg Jets, we've got the Calgary Flames, we've got Edmonton Oilers, and we've got the Vancouver Canucks. So we have 6 teams in Canada, but there's 32 teams in the NHL. Oh, I missed the Ottawa Senators. Nobody cares about the Ottawa Senators. Yeah. Sorry, Senators fans, all 5 of you. We used to have the Quebec Nordiques. Was a team we used to have once upon a time. But yeah, so we only have 7 teams ourselves in Canada, but we do play in a bigger league. Now, where I live in Newfoundland, we have another league here that's not anywhere near the tier of the NHL, which is where these guys play. And in that league, there's only 4 teams. There's the Cornbrook Royals, Deer Lake Red Wings, Grand Falls Cataracts, and the Stephenville Lightning. So, I mean, 6 to 9 teams. That's a pretty solid league right there.
Right now, there's 8 teams active in the league. They're based in Newcastle, Sydney, Canberra, Melbourne, Adelaide, and Perth, with Sydney having 2 teams and Melbourne having 2 teams. 2 more teams have been added this season on a probationary basis, one of which is in Brisbane and the other one in the Central Coast. Those 2 teams are only playing...
Hold on. I never even bothered to look at what year this video was put out. 2 years ago. Okay. So let me know in the comments, are the teams still active? If they were put in a probationary period, are they still playing?
Exhibition games, and we'll have to wait and see if they end up actually playing in the league after this year. So teams play a 28-game home and away season from the beginning of April to the first weekend of September.
That's a good amount of games, 28 games for a small league.
The top 4 teams from the regular season go on into a finals weekend where number 4 plays number 1 and number 3 plays number 2, and the winner of those 2 games plays for the Goodall Cup. Teams travel a lot in this league. So when Sydney on the East Coast have to go and play against Perth on the West Coast, they've got to fly 3,500 kilometers or 2,000 miles for that weekend. And when teams are playing between...
I wonder if they couldn't just book it so that the teams will just play along the coast, and then fly over, kind of do that. But I don't know how it planned out, but that's a lot. That's a long distance.
Adelaide, Melbourne, and Sydney, all of those cities are about 1,000 kilometers away from each other. Canberra, Sydney, and Newcastle are all actually very close to each other. There are only about 300 Ks between all of them. But apart from those teams playing each other, everybody else has to fly to play. So unlike a lot of minor pro leagues, you actually fly a lot in the AIHL. You don't really get big bus trips going, from like one city all the way down one side of the country over to the other side on like a 21-day road trip. Another reason for that, games are only on Friday, Saturday, and Sundays. There's no midweek games in this league. Taking a look at the rosters, teams are allowed to dress 5 imports per game, but a few teams actually carry maybe 6 or 7 through the season just in case they get injury. And as well, there's a few guys that live in Australia that don't actually meet the criteria for being a local player and they still count as an import. To be considered local in Australia, you pretty much have to be a permanent resident or a citizen, of course, of Australia or New Zealand. Pretty much all the imports are minor pro players from North America and Europe playing stuff like SPHL, ECHL, like second division in like France.
So I know NCAA. I don't know the SPHL. That's a different one. Birmingham. Is that in Europe? I know the ECHL. We used to have an ECHL team here. But yeah, okay. Interesting.
And Germany and Sweden and stuff like that. But occasionally we do get players with AHL experience, and we've had a few guys that are draft picks or have played a few games in the NHL. But for the most part, it's around that upper SPHL, lower ECHL kind of level. So most Australian players are not at that level of skill.
Okay, so I will say they would be above the Cornbrook Royals, but that's where they're at, the ECHL. They're above the Cornbrook Royals. So that's talent, that's skill, that's interesting and entertaining games as well.
Skill. Most guys have some experience playing overseas, either doing like AAA, minor, or a bit of junior A, or like in some cases, some like minor pro stuff. There's a few guys that go over and play Div 2 in Sweden. A lot of guys also go over to Canada and play at academies, simply for the fact that we can't go and try out for teams. Like if we're going to go over there, it's going to cost $5,000, $10,000 to go over with your mum or your dad when you're 14, 15 years old. So at least if you're going to an academy, you're definitely going to have, on the ice every day, you can have a coach, you've got something to do. You're not just kind of throwing everything.
Yeah, we take our hockey really serious here in Canada. So you do have to try to get on a team, especially if you want to get on like a team that's going to help you excel and do really, really good. But yeah, we do have academies that are great for that. We have some are run all summer long even here in Canada. So yeah, if you're interested in playing high level hockey, Canada's the place to go. Not to toot our own horn here.
into the wind and going overseas to try and get, you know, picked up by a junior team. But then also there's a lot of guys that haven't played any hockey outside of Australia. So arenas are a mixed bag in Australia, but one thing you know for sure, none of them were designed to actually be a hockey arena for a minor pro hockey team or anything like that. None of the teams actually own their rinks, except for in Newcastle's case, but that's more of a situation of the owner of the rink also owns the team, rather than a franchise purchasing a venue or renting a venue to actually run their business out of. Some of the rinks in the league don't even have glass. You've got to get changed in like a party room.
Wow. Yeah, so where I live, we have the Corner Brook Civic Center. And I'll share a picture of that here for you to see. And in the Corner Brook Civic Center, we've got a lot more seating. It looks a lot more professional. It was built for the 1999 Canada Winter Games. So it looks a lot better than this. That said, until then, until the 1999 Canada Winter Games, we had the Humber Gardens and we had Kinsman Arena, both of which were small like this. So yeah, even we had to start here, right? And we only got bigger because of the Canada Winter Games. And I would imagine maybe some of the other arenas are bigger. I have no idea. But this is a small arena for sure, at least compared to what you would see, in other places throughout Canada. But there are a lot of arenas like this as well. Some of you have told me in previous chats and in previous videos, and have told me as well in the Discord that you watch Letterkenny or even Shoresy. Jared Keto's awesome. I love him. He's hilarious. And you'll see in that the No Show, which is the Northern Ontario Senior Hockey Organization, their arena's not too much different than this as well. So there are a lot of smaller leagues that have arenas similar to that, for sure, in Canada.
Room rather than a locker room, and they've only got capacity for, like 300 to 400 people. And that's obviously owing to the fact that these arenas weren't built for hockey. They were built for recreation.
This one looks like it was a swimming pool. Huh. Look at the big windows. Wow. Huge windows.
Skating. In saying that though, there are some rinks like the O'Brien Arena in Melbourne. You can fit 2,000 people in there. It's a really great rink. It's got glass as well. That's got 2 sheets of ice. So it's got a purpose-built hockey rink, and then it's got a rink that doesn't have glass. It's for recreational skating. And then pretty much every rink is somewhere in between there. So during the season, teams usually have about a 1-hour practice twice a week. That's due to 2 things. First of all, because as we said before, teams don't own the rinks or rent out the rinks that they play in on a full-time basis, so they can't just jump in and get ice time whenever they feel like it. Second of all, because there's actually not many rinks. Like we said before, 20 rinks in the entirety of Australia, so there actually isn't much opportunity to get an hour of ice time at a prime time in the evening when every other, recreational team wants to play games or train. And then there's state teams, there's figure skating, there's skate discos and recreational skating stuff that goes on at the same time. And the other big thing, most of the players have a day job, so the players can't go down and have a morning skate at 11 a.m. or an optional skate in the afternoon. That's
the same for the Corner Brook Royals too. Same thing. A lot of them have day jobs, which is and in hockey, for those of you who aren't overly familiar with ice hockey, fights tend to break out. I don't know if it's the case here or not, but they do tend to break out. And it surprises me how often that happens in the league that is the West Coast Senior Hockey League that the Corner Brook Royals play in. And it surprises me how often fights will break out in that, because these guys too have to get up the next day to go to work.
At work. All right, now getting into the nitty gritty of what we mean by pro hockey. So although there has been undeniable growth in ice hockey in Australia in the AIHL in the past 20 years, the league definitely still sits somewhere in the fuzzy line between amateur and semi-pro. The league is actually an amateur league on paper, so when you sign your contract, there's a clause in there that effectively makes you not able to receive money for playing hockey. In saying that though, most players have absolutely every single expense covered, including, travel, insurance, all that kind of stuff. Some players also get stuff like accommodation, vehicles, food allowance, stuff like that, but they're mostly the higher end players and guys that have moved into city to play. And there are also players that actually play kind of like fly in, fly out. So they'll fly into a city for the end of the week to do training and then play their games. Or
I would imagine the imports might probably have some incentive to come in. So there's probably something give it to those guys as well if you're going to get them in.
Meet them on the road somewhere, and like the team takes care of all of their travel and their, expenses to do that. And there are definitely situations where players are getting paid in some way or another, either through the team or through a sponsor, but that's very rare and nobody's making a living off it. So this obviously brings the issue of, well, some players are getting paid, some players aren't getting paid. And it's not so much an issue with the players that aren't getting paid but still have all of their, expenses covered, all their fees covered. There are guys on some teams and they actually have to pay to cover their fees, cover their travel and stuff like that. And then what happens is you got a hockey game and you got one guy on one side of the ice that's making tens of thousands of dollars or thousands of dollars playing, and then lining up against him on the other side of the ice is a guy that works just as hard as he does, still putting something into the league, creating the whole, product that's being sold through the AIHL, but he's not getting his fees covered. Like, he's having to pay to be there. And with other leagues, rich teams and poor teams, of course they exist, but it might be something like, well, one team can't quite reach the cap, they've got to go under it, or one team has like not as good facilities as the other team. But in the AIHL, what can happen is you can have a team of players that are paid to be there, playing against a team with, maybe a third of the guys having to pay their own.
That reminds me of the history I learned about rugby, about the rugby union versus league and how that came about. So, yeah, interesting. Guys, support ice hockey, man. If you've never watched it live, go watch a game. And if you don't enjoy it, fine. But for crying out loud, man, it's a freaking exciting game. Go support your AIHL.
Fees to be there, and that's not a very good look. And
as only get better when
league,
you do.
Seeing us filling 1,500 people in the stands, it's a pretty hard thing to stomach. And all this leads into, well, how good is the AIHL? What kind of level are we talking here as far as play wise? It's difficult for me to say because as an adult I've only played in the AIHL, but from guys who have played minor pro overseas.
Oh, dude's actually a hockey player. Huh. I did not know that.
And looking at footage from minor pro leagues overseas, it's probably somewhere around the FPHL level, or maybe like Division 3, Division 2 Sweden, somewhere there. So we really are looking like the lower end of minor pro. And I think there's a really clear reason for that. So all the things that we've talked about as far as like teams not earning the rinks, not having enough time on the ice, not being able to commit fully to playing hockey because you've also got a day job, all of these factors impact the local Australian players' ability to kind of train up to that level of a minor pro because we just don't have the ice time and we've got our normal jobs, we've got everything else in life to think about, and we aren't just focusing on ice hockey. There's a few reasons for that, like you can't really pay a salary to, 20 guys on a team when you've only got stands for 350 people. And also a lot of young guys that would be pushing through and persevering through to making that level leave the game when they turn 18 and 19 years old because they actually financially can't afford to do it anymore. And you can see a lot of the players in Australia who are the elite players did go over.
That's a sad reality here too, right? I mean, I mentioned the Cornerbrook Rolls, and we do have hockey team players. They're also not pros. They're amateur hockey. They don't get paid to play. They do have a lot of things covered. There are sponsors who will help cover the cost of certain things, including things like gym memberships and travel and all of that stuff. But they're not actually making a living playing hockey. They all have jobs. That being said, we do have what's called the Western Kings, which is a AAA U18. So it's like high tier under 18 hockey team here that play province wide, right all the way to St. John. So there's different teams in that league. They've even actually played off the island in other parts of Canada as well. But yeah, a lot of them when they finish at 18, because you can't play after 18, it's U18, under 18. A lot of them don't go to the Cornerbrook Royals or the Deer Lake Red Wings, not because they don't want to or they're not good enough. It's because they have to go to either school or work. They can't afford to play amateur hockey in much the same way. So it's a sad reality that it's happening here as well. Because it's a great sport. It really is.
Overseas, and they did build into their early 20s playing minor pro or something like that. But guys don't have those opportunities to kind of like go through bantam, midget AAA, and then play junior, for 3 years or 4.
So what he's referring to here, our hockey starts off in Canada. We call them the Timbits. It's the little tiny guys, novice, or even below novice. There's Timbits. And these are like your preschoolers. starting. That's how early they start hockey here, by the way. Preschoolers. They're skating as they're learning to walk. And then from Timbits, they go into the Novice 1 and Novice 2. Then there's Atom, and then there's Pee Wee, and then there's Bantam, and then there's AAA. And then within that, there's different leagues. There's U18, U16, which is under 18, under 16 leagues, and so on and so forth. There's house league hockey. There's high school hockey. There's junior high school hockey. So you can play, like I grew up playing hockey. And I played in, I skipped Timbits. I started off in Novice. I went from Novice 1 to 2 to Atom, Pee Wee, Bantam. And I did not play AAA. I played in Bantam, and I played in high school hockey, which the AAA players were high school students. So I played against AAA players. I just didn't play in the AAA league. And that was really because I had a choice. Hockey's not cheap, especially my position. I was a goaltender, a very expensive position to be in. My dad said, basically, you pick. You playing for your high school, or are you going to play AAA? Because he couldn't afford for me to do both. Sadly, I chose high school. I chose to represent my high school, and no regrets.
4 years, and then maybe go to university, and then try and get into a league like the Fed or the SB, and really keep that ball rolling, and then eventually end up as somebody who's 25, 30 years old, is a minor pro player for sure, but is definitely a solid player and somebody that can come in, make differences, and have all of those skills that, the Australian players are kind of clawing out to try and get just completely on lock, because they've been doing it as pretty much their day job since they were 13 years old. And unfortunately, it's a bit of a chicken and egg thing here, where unless the teams in the league kind of open up to more of an audience and, build the league up to get more people in, they won't be able to have the money and the resources to, allow players to do that kind of stuff. But as well, there aren't the rinks there in the first place for a lot of teams to really build into, getting 1,000, 2,000 people at their games and actually making money off the game ticket sales. And as well, then opening up, broadcasting and stuff like that, getting better sponsors in, because they don't have the money to kind of do any of that in the first place. So
honestly, a part of me, because I do sport commentating for hockey games. Well, almost any sport that happens, but predominantly hockey games for a local TV station here. Part of me wants to move to Australia just to do that. Well, I don't know. We'll see.
Like the whole structure of the AIHL, the way the league works and the individual teams and stuff like that, it is really difficult to see that league build the fan base and then be able to offer the players something to keep them going, and then allow them to develop into what would be a standard minor pro hockey player. And I think for the AIHL, all of that's kind of been put into a too hard basket, and there doesn't really seem to be any will to kind of build the league in that way, give the players the opportunity, and really drive the growth in that way to get the league out into a bigger audience and really turn it into a professional league and become something like the professional leagues in the minor hockey countries like the UK and stuff like that. And the other big issue is geography.
And like
Australia is in the other hemisphere and on the other side of the world to North America and Europe. So it's not easy for our players to actually go somewhere, get all that experience, and then come back and use it in Australia. So if
I recently watched a mini documentary. I can't remember what African country it was. There was an African country where they're actually was it Kenya? I can't remember. Might have even been South Africa. Might have been Zimbabwe. I don't know. Anyways, there was an African country that's starting ice hockey. And they brought a bunch of the inaugural members, the first-time players, to Canada, where they got to practice and learn and meet some NHL players. And actually, I'm pretty sure they might have watched an NHL game or two as well while they were here. So it's pretty exciting stuff. But yeah, so if you get out to these games and watch these games, obviously it's going to have to be during your winter months. And I think right now, Australia, you guys are in the summer. So when the winter month kicks in and the league kicks back in, get out and watch these games, support these guys, because the more money going into them, the more they can do to make the league better and improve themselves as well. And it could grow to be something really freaking cool. You guys could love hockey. Now, I know you guys have great sports. Listen, don't get me wrong. But why not add another to the list, right? You guys, I love AFL. Love AFL, guys. You have no idea what you guys have done to me with that. NRL, I'm enjoying rugby league as well, like insanely amount of enjoyment. And of course, the cricket, I'm really liking that as well. But why not add hockey to that list? There's no limit to how many sports you can enjoy and watch.
If you don't have tens of thousands of dollars to afford to go to an academy or just the money to go over and do tryouts at a bunch of teams and try and get a spot, then doing any more hockey outside of Australia just isn't a possibility. And if you are good and you stay locally, most guys just step out of the level that they're in because they're way too good, because you're jumping from pretty much recreational or minor hockey through to almost a minor pro league. So there isn't any of those adjoining steps for players to take. So if they can't go overseas to get those, it's really difficult for them to, try and make that leap. Putting all that aside though, as far as having something, the AIHL is definitely better than nothing. It allows people to play past the point where they would have not been able to play anymore if they were doing minor pro, somewhere else and not making much money. Like, I've got a full-time job, I've got a family. There's a lot of guys like that keep playing, and a lot of those guys are actually the higher level guys that have gone.
I wonder if he's a netminder, because he's got the goalie stick here, he's got a goalie helmet here, the mask, the part here of the goalie helmet. I'm noticing here as he's talking. So he did say, I do assume he plays. He's got guitars too. This guy's like my kindred spirit.
Through and played all that stuff, and then have ended up staying in the league, playing as like a veteran guy, and a lot of the skill of the league is tied up in those guys. So there is a bit of a double-edged sword there. Like if you stay as it is now, those guys can keep playing, but then if you move over to be a proper minor pro league, a lot of those guys wouldn't play anymore because they've got, their careers to worry about. In saying that though, if you're focusing on building the sport as a whole, then that's the kind of thing that you're going to have to sacrifice. Anyway, guys, that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you think I've missed anything and have another question or two for me, make sure you throw them down in the comments. I played in the Australian Ice Hockey League for a number of years.
I was right, he did. And I bet you he's the goalie, number 75. That's his number. Weird to see that number for a goalie. Goalies are normally in their 30s.
Moved over to a new league called the Pacific Hockey League, which is a semi-professional league running at the same time as the AIHL. I'm doing a vlog for my 2022 season. 75. I've been tracking it from all the way back in January when I started doing my preseason. So make sure you go check out the Aussie semi-pro.
All right, who is he? He is Lasher 75. There you go. That's the number 75. Lasher 75. Australian semi-pro hockey goaltender. There you go. That's it. Yeah, currently with the PHL. So there you have it. I played a net. He's actually a lot skinnier than I would expect. A lot of goalies I played with, and as I played, we were a bit bigger. I don't know how tall he is. I'm 6 foot. I was a short goalie at 6 foot. But yeah.
A hockey life vlog and see what it's actually like to play in these kind of leagues. But I hope you've enjoyed the video. I'll see you in the next one.
All right, I'm going to have to do just that. I'm going to have to look at more of those videos. Right, so what I do want to do is actually take a look at a highlight. So I have a highlight here that I just found from the AIHL, and just kind of want to check it out and see what it's all about. So let's watch this together and see if I can kind of give some critique, if at all. I mean, I don't know what I'm walking into. It could be like not even needing a critique. I don't know. We'll see. Here we go. AIHL, Australian Ice Hockey League highlights. So this is last season, right? Just finished.
Regular finals, but now a chance for Erdogan driving towards it, get the shot away.
There we go. Oh wow. Okay. So that was a beauty. Check it.
Regular finals, but now a chance for Erdogan.
So what he did here is he managed to get past, and again, I'm going to blame the defense for this one. Okay, let's go back here for a second. Let me show you this. What's happening here. So right here, before that defenseman on the white team, which I don't know if that's Perth. I think that's Perth. He waited too late to turn around is what happened. He allowed the forward from Melbourne to get too close to that blue line before he turned around. And at that point, the guy from Melbourne's got more than enough momentum going forward, and it's going to be almost impossible now for him to as a defenseman to keep up with him. And that's what happens here. Can't keep up with that. Boom. Beauty. Beauty. Oh, come on, guys. Class, you don't do that. You don't celebrate in front of your opponent's bench like that. Oh. Oh. Wait, what? I missed that. Oh, I see what happened there. Took a shot from the blue line. This is your defenseman. Took a shot, tipped off. Goalie was way, I don't know what he was doing out there. He was screened, and I'm guessing he was probably trying to reach out and see, like he was just leaning to look and see, but way too much out there. Way too much out there. And that's how that tip went in.
And Hughes trying to get out wide to Burke. One out with Jeff Soller, gets a shot away.
Oh, good screen, man. Melbourne's doing great on the screens.
Oh, no. Now here's a chance for the ice pass out wide to Burke. Shot comes in, and it's a goal of the Melbourne.
One-timer. Beauty.
Well, and that was a complete defense structure quickly.
5-0. Holy cow.
Chance now for the Thunder and
oh, there we go. It's good flexibility. That goalie's got good flexibility. Look at that. That's great.
Either chance now for the Thunder, and Ashita made the save. Couldn't on the second time. The Thunder are on the
He stopped the
board.
first one. Couldn't stop the second one.
And it was initiating it too. Now Jones. So Jones passes a good setup for the
What a beauty backhand. Now, the goalie was a little too far back here. See that? He was way too far back. So, see where he is right here? This is where he should be staying. He knows he's got somebody coming in on his blocker side. That's his right side. He knows somebody's coming down here. His defense are not in a position to stop it. You got one guy that's probably in a position in the passing lane that might be able to stop the pass, but a simple saucer pass, he's not stopping that. So he knows he's got this guy over here. The last thing he should be doing is going further back into his net and opening up that angle. But he does. Right here. Right here. I mean, he's so far back at this point that if he had stayed out a bit as he was approaching in, it would have been a decreased angle. And he didn't follow him. I don't know what he was doing there. Let's watch that again.
So Jones passes a good setup.
Yeah, he anticipated the shot too early. But he's a good goalie. I mean, I'm just being critical here.
Good work by Hazelhurst. Here's a chance there for Jeremiah Anderson, and he scores.
See, and this is, by the way, this is what happened when dropping the pads came out of goaltending, and we ended up getting the butterfly, or stacking the pads, I should say. And goalies began to just instantly drop for everything. And that's what happened here. He dropped to his knee before the shot was even made.
Good work by
Watch this.
Here's a chance there for Jeremiah Anderson, and he scores.
He was down. He opened up his entire blocker side for a simple, easy shot. Little wrist shot, top corner.
Here's another chance for the ice. Hughes delays.
Wow. Defense should not have let that happen. Defense should not have let that one happen. That was 100% the defense.
Delays. Yeah. And here's another chance for the ice.
Goalie did his thing. Gets over there, stops it. But I mean, look how much play he had, how much time he had with that puck. Not gonna lie, that's interesting. That's entertaining to watch. It's not NHL caliber, but it's these guys are better, right? I would say that watching Melbourne there, they give my boys a run for the money. They would, if not beat them. Probably beat them. I don't know, it's hard to say. Just based on those highlights. But yeah, you guys got ice hockey. That is exciting. Get out and watch some ice hockey in your hometown if you are in one of those locations, and enjoy it. I promise you will. So go watch some ice hockey. Support your team. Help it grow. And let me know how it goes. Join the Discord and let me know if you watched any of the AIHL or any other ice hockey that happens over in Australia. And if you do go out and watch it when the season starts, I want some pictures and videos. Share that with me over on the Discord as well. Link is down in the description. In the meantime, folks, I hope you really enjoyed this video. And if you did, please go ahead and ensure that you like it. And if you do like my videos, hit that subscribe button right there. Look at that. Yeah. And then that one, that notification bell allows you to be notified when my videos appear and get uploaded. And you don't want to miss out on any of those. Guys, thanks so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now. Hey, you enjoyed that video? Well, if you did, check out this one down below. It was a lot of fun to make. I think you'll enjoy that one as well. And if you really enjoy the videos on my channel, be sure to hit that little icon over there. That allows you to subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of my future videos. And hey, join us over on the Discord. It's a lot of fun over there as well.